thing?
Yeah.
You already know.
That's a dumb
Guess what? I'm gonna be walking around Japan like this.
For real?
Yeah.
But for Japan?
Yeah.
Does it have a translator on it?
Alright, no.
No, see?
Hello everyone, thank you for watching my video. So in less than 2 weeks I'll be going to Japan for 14 days, and today I'm going to be talking about how I got my flight for a reasonable price. I will tell you and I will admit that this process is very tedious and you have to be consistent throughout the time that you are looking for flights. Just a disclaimer, this process is for those who have a specific place in mind. They're not really looking for a place randomly, and they have in general a time that they want to go. There are other cheap ways to find flights. Like, you can easily go to a travel website and, you know, pick a random date that you want to travel to anywhere. You don't really care, and then just find flights, cheap flights to a random place. So this specifically is just for those who are planning a trip to a specific place and have around when they want to go. Okay, so here are the 3 apps that I use to find my flight: Hopper, Kayak, and Cheap Flights. And each app to me has a function, and I use this as a process. So the first one that I use is Hopper. Now the thing about Hopper is really good at telling you which day or which week will give you a cheap flight if you're looking to buy a flight now or soon. So let's say you have a specific month or you have a specific season. This is the first step you would go to. So let's say I live in Chicago and I live between 3 airports. A tip that I could give you right now is when you are finding airfare, you want to be as flexible as you can be when it comes to where you're leaving from and where you're landing to, because the more flexible you are, the more options you have a better chance to find a cheaper flight. So I'm just gonna say 3 airports, and let's say Tokyo, and Tokyo has 2 airports. So as you can see, what Hopper has is June, July, and the beginning of August. If you were to look for a flight now, you're not gonna find any good flights in those months. So you wouldn't go in those months. But like the end of November, January, February, and the beginning of March, you have those green boxes to show you that if you're looking for a flight now, these are the months that you kind of want to shoot for. So let's say I want to go in February. I'm going to go on Monday the 4th until, let's say, the 15th. Now, obviously, the colors of those boxes will change as every day happens. It's like an investment. Like when you're looking at the stock market, it's going to constantly change based on the day, the hour, what's going on. So once you pick those dates, you'll see that you can watch them. So here, after I pick those dates, it says the current lowest price is $904. So I'll say watch this trip, and as time goes on, you can see when the prices drop or when the prices increase. So once you put watch your flight, you can go on the watch tab, and you can see here, like on Monday, February 4th to Friday, February 15th, Tokyo, and this app tells you the price prediction when it may or may not increase or decrease. So this is all Hopper. Now the reason why I don't buy any flights from Hopper is because with the next 2 apps, Kayak and Cheap Flights, I can definitely find the same dates with the same locations for a cheaper price. So here I have Kayak, and I input the information, so Chicago to Tokyo, and then the specific dates. I go ahead and search. And Kayak on their end will list all the flights that they have. So the first flight that Kayak has listed is $855. Now immediately you can see that it's cheaper than Hopper's current lowest price, which is $904. And if you look at the detail that they have listed, is the exact same flight as Kayak. So flying there is 15 hours and 50 minutes, and flying back is 10 hours and 15 minutes layover. And then if you go to Kayak, the layover is the exact same thing, 15 hours and 50 minutes flying there, and then 10 hours and 15 minutes going back. I always look at the layover because the layover will determine why it's cheaper than other flights. So if you look at this flight that is $1,300, the layover is a lot shorter. So that will help determine why the flight is either more expensive or why it's the least expensive. So, but between Hopper and Kayak, they're the same flight. So already you can tell that Kayak is going to be cheaper than Hopper. Now the reason why I use Kayak is because Kayak is more prompt and they're quicker when it comes to notifying you when prices increase or when prices decrease. And obviously if you're looking for airfare that is going to be cheaper and you know that the prices change every day, almost every day, then you want to get that notification sooner than later. I go up in this corner, it says watch, and then I go to watch list, and then you could see, you know, the dates and the airports that you picked, and every single time you press it, you can watch it, you can keep track of the prices in those locations. Now, let's say Kayak tells you, okay, the price dropped tremendously, it's $500 to $600. That's a pretty good airfare depending on where you're coming from. Chicago, I don't know much about how much a good airfare would be, but from the East Coast, that's an amazing price, especially because we're a lot further from Japan than somewhere like California. That's when I go to my next app, and that's Cheap Flights. So here I have Cheap Flights, and I already put in Chicago, Tokyo, and then the dates. So it's just like Kayak, very similar. Now the app for Cheap Flights is different from the online version. The online version, I'll post it up so you could see, but it's pretty much, you know, you put in the dates, you put in the airports, and then it'll have you compare different travel websites like Expedia, CheapOair, Just Fly. There's a whole bunch of them, and when you press on view, then each travel website will open up in a new tab. So it's very easy to do it on the computer because then you can just look and see which travel app or which travel website will have a cheaper flight, and you can compare them side by side. I think it's a lot easier than the mobile phone because then you see, like, you have to click out, click back in, click out, click back in. So it's a lot easier. So Cheap Flights actually here has more expensive flight. It's $857 on Cheap Flights, and it's $855. And if you look at it, it's the same flight once again. So it's a 15-hour, 50-minute layover, 10-hour and 15-minute layover. So Cheap Flights isn't really helping me out in this explanation. But if you look at the next flight, it's $908. But the layover is ridiculous, like 3 hours and 40 minutes and 4 hours and 20 minutes. But when we looked at the layover for this second one here in Kayak, it was 3 hours and 2 minutes and 1 hour and 35 minutes. A little shorter, but it's a couple $100 more than the one in cheap flights. So this has been the last step for me, because this has been consistently the place where I will find a cheaper flight. And that's pretty much how I find my flight.